What is up, everybody? Joe Dobby here. We are going to be playing a Diaboromon deck in English Set 1. So without further ado, first hand, already have a Diaboromon. Already have all the pieces really to get to Diaboromon really quickly here. And I even have a better piece than Megadramon with the Inframon. So I Digivolve that Toyagumon with Reboot into Greymon, which if Digimon has Reboot, also has Jamming. And back to my opponent. Plays the Minamon, and yep, just gonna show you. So throughout this game, I'm going to be highlighting every card that's played so you guys get an idea. Feel free to pause the video at any point in time. The commentary is not going to be focused on the card effects unless I have to explain what's going on. It's going to be more regards to kind of like the strategies, and I'll only try to speak when I have to. So I bring out the Greymon there, and I think I'm going to Digivolve into Inframon, but I like to read Chrysalimon apparently, so let's take a look at that. And yes, in fact, I do end up with the Inframon, putting my opponent to 1 memory, but because of Davis, we end up putting him at 3. So I already have the ability to get to Diaboromon here in by turn 3, so it's going to be very, very exciting to see how this plays out. So my opponent digivolves the Minamon into Argomon and drops a Goblimon down on the battlefield, and also digivolves that into Stingmon, which puts him at 0. So you can definitely play something else here, and becomes a Diaboromon. Awesome. And it's right back at to me, and I have the Kaporamon out, gonna Digivolve that into Gotsumon, allowing me to draw a card. And I think I go for Diaboromon here. It's almost a no-brainer because I have 3 memory, and the Inframon allows me to Digivolve from Inframon to Diaboromon for 1 less cost. So now I can even attack with Diaboromon here for the security check, summoning a token, which is pretty good. And Imperialdramon DM comes down, but with jamming, because of the Greymon / Toyagumon inheritable effects, I managed to survive that. So right off the bat, I've got a really powerful stack for Diaboromon here, and all I have to do is essentially maintain the momentum and build up a board. So I dropped the Numamon to do just that, putting my opponent at 3. Alright, my opponent brings out the Argomon naturally, and you have the opportunity to Digivolve here. But instead, for now, does a security check because of the jamming the Diaboromon has, and it is a Gotsumon, so it didn't really matter. It was totally fine. And Digivolves from Diaboromon right up into Imperialdramon DM, readying Imperialdramon DM, and at 0 memory you can actually do a security check here with jamming. Jamming is such a powerful mechanic when used efficiently. So goes ahead and Digivolves into Woodmon there, just a 6k DP blocker, your average level 4 blocker, so really good card depending on the timing, as all blockers are. And I put out the Gotsumon, one of my own blockers here, and I've got 2 memory to play with, and I could go one of 2 routes here. But first I do a security check, because why not? With Reboot and jamming, you can't go wrong. And I end up cloning and getting myself another Diaboromon token. So I attack with the other one, because with Reboot, it's less likely that my opponent's going to be able to rest me and attack me. Because I know that they're running an Imperialdramon DM deck, they're not necessarily going to have a lot of rest cards. So I'm fine. And I have tokens to protect me from that as well, so pretty good. And I go ahead and Digivolve straight into Megadramon for that 9k powerhouse. Hopefully going to be able to destroy Woodmon with it, or do a security check. So at this point I've got 4 Digimon on the board, and my opponent only has 3 security, but remember that that 1 blocker is ultimately enough for me to not want to do a complete security check wipe, because I cannot actually swing for lethal to take my opponent out and win the game. And a lot can happen if I invest too much and rest too much Digimon through security checks. So I play pretty safe in this game, I would say, pretty cautiously. My opponent digivolves into Kabuterimon, which is a really good 1 cost to play card, to digivolve card. Imperialdramon is naturally going to do a security check, and what comes out is an Andromon, so nothing to see here. So my opponent should have actually gotten an extra memory, but oh, I think he already added it. Okay, may have missed that. Looking through the Digimon that was on the board. Anyway, I digivolve into Hagurumon there, and I think about dropping Tie, but I don't. Yes, I don't. Yeah, I do a security check, cloning and getting another Diaboromon token out, and Davis, the Tamer, comes out, so my opponent just runs the effect there. I let him do it for a sec just so I know what's ending up in his hand there, and it looks like it's the Imperialdramon that's going to be in my opponent's hand here, and the rest of the cards go back to the bottom of the deck. I use a Diaboromon to swing, but I think my opponent's going to block that. This may have been a misplay, hindsight. I feel like I should have attacked with the Megadramon instead. Saved my Diaboromon when swinging for lethal, but that's all good. I did bait the Woodmon out though, so my Megadramon actually destroys one of them, which is good, and I digivolve into Numamon, allowing me to draw a card, and I've got a couple options here, with 2 memory. And I go ahead for the Andromon, and there you go. My opponent is at 3 memory, I've got a pretty good blocker, and Diaboromon has been rebooted back up. Imperialdramon's gonna do another security check, and Metal Edamon comes down just 2k DP away from taking that guy out. I don't have any Digimon that are at 12k straight up, so none of that's gonna work from security. Imperialdramon finally comes down here, just drew it last turn through playing Davis, I believe. Maybe my opponent had multiple, we don't know, but you know, I would think so. Swings for security, I think with jamming as well, yeah. And I decide, should I block it, should I attack it, and I go for it, and it is a Diaboromon. I hesitate, I know I hesitate because I remember thinking, oh, he should go, but wait a minute, jamming. So it's still my opponent's turn, drops a Woodmon, putting me at 5 memory. So I have an issue here with 2 blockers and my opponent's ability to ready jamming Digimon. So this becomes an issue. I think about what to do, and I totally forget I could throw Hagurumon into the raising area just to have another Digimon to swing in the next turn. Instead, I go right into the attack mode with Diaboromon. So, hindsight, as I was reviewing this, I was a little disappointed by that. Putting Digimon out into the raising area should be automatic, especially if you kind of have the numbers to go for an all-out attack, but I managed to take out a blocker here. I go for the Andromon check to destroy Woodmon as well. I do have options to defend myself. With 5 memory, there's a couple things I can do. Okay, so I play the Gotsumon, it seems, and I end up at 2 memory left. Interesting. So my opponent only has 2 Digimon and I've got 1 blocker. Yep, Guardramon, just to defend myself against the Imperialdramon and what have you. And I've got a bunch of good cards here. I've got That Was a Good Time, which could de-digivolve. However, de-digivolving is not good because I have a rested Digimon, so I think I play Atomic Ray, which allows me to ready a blocker. Yup, Andromon is now ready. And I could block my opponent's Digimon 1 for 1. And I think I have it. Yeah, I think I have this one. If I'm just able to block these next two attacks, I can swing for the game. Even with that Hagurumon misplay. So my opponent goes ahead and digivolves Agumon from the Minimon. My opponent swings with Imperialdramon and I block with the Guardramon. Naturally, I'm just going to go for the all-out block here. That gains the memory, yup. And that is the game with Imperialdramon being digivolved from the Paildramon. That readies the other Imperialdramon DM, putting my opponent to basically able to swing for game. That one Imperialdramon drop was enough to cost me the game, and that was a very well played, well timed way to close out by my opponent.